Welcome to another episode of The Corner Booth, the official podcast of restaurantowner.com. Today, the restaurant industry is changing faster than ever. Learn from successful independent restaurant operators and other industry leaders as they share best practices that will help you engage your team, delight your guests, and grow your business.
And welcome, everyone, to another Corner Booth. This is Chris Tripoli, and I'm with restaurantowner.com, today's go-to source on the web for information and education for the independent restaurant operator, restaurantowner.com. You can't just react to food safety issues anymore. You've got to stay ahead of them. That's something that you usually learn the hard way in this business. What I like about the updated ServSafe manager training and exam is it really focuses on prevention, helping your managers catch issues before they turn into bigger problems. It's built around how kitchens actually run day to day, not just theory. If you haven't looked at it in a while, it's worth checking out at servesafe.com. And if you're a restaurantowner.com member, you can save 15% on the ServeSafe suite. So on to today. Corner Booth has a ball bringing you stories of restaurants that are developing, restaurants that are growing. Some are family-owned, some aren't. Today's a family-owned hamburger chain that most of you are going to recognize. Most of you know the names Mark Wahlberg, Donnie Wahlberg, their brother chef, Paul Wahlberg. Some of you probably know that about 15 years ago, they started in the restaurant business. Chef Paul opened up the first restaurant. Now we're going to learn about how many Wahlburgers there are. We know that they're in different states in our nation. They've actually ventured into the other nations. There are some franchise, some corporate stores. Can't wait to get all of the story. We're going to talk a little bit about the difficulties of non-traditional locations because Wahlburgers has lived through that as well. The person who's going to share all that with us is Randy Sharpe. Randy Sharpe, I believe you're the CEO of Wahlburgers. Is that correct?
Yes. Thank you for having me.
You're leading a very exciting group.
Thank you very much. And thank you again for having me on.
Absolutely. No, we thank you for spending some time with us. Before we jump into the description of the concept for maybe the few who don't really know about it and get into that whole story, I would really like to share a little bit about you, Randy, if you wouldn't mind. Tell us how you first got into the industry. You know, what turned you on? Who were your early influences? And let's just go from there.
Well, the story of how I ended up staying in the industry and becoming an industry lifer is probably a similar story to several folks out there, where it was a means to help pay for schooling and whatnot as you're trying to figure out what you want to do for a living. And then as I'm going through college, I realized I actually really love what I'm doing to pay for the college. And the thing about it also is, end up being what are you good at, right? And truth be told, it's been one of my favorite things I've ever done, but it just felt right. I felt like I fit like a glove when I was in a restaurant, and I was able to, be blessed with several different great mentors along the way that's helped me on my path to, end up being a CEO of previous companies. And then, a few years ago, taking the helm here. So it's one of those things where the idea was to pay for college, but it turned into the thing that I wanted to do for, the last 32 years.
32 years. I think that's fantastic. And yes, I believe you're correct. Many people, I think, are very successful in this industry. And yet at one time they were in college thinking that they were going to be studying for their real job, when all along the real job was the industry that we were in.
Absolutely. I totally agree.
So you joined Wahlburgers not too long ago.
Sure.
We all know, obviously, the celebrity, name behind the concept. But maybe you could take a few minutes just to go ahead and describe the concept. These are really good burgers.
No, they're great burgers, and they're quality is something that not only does our company stand for, but our founders and investors and owners stand for on everything they do. But yeah, I've been here 2 years now. Celebrated my 2-year anniversary a couple weeks ago. I met Mark at tequila tasting, of all things. Mark's an investor in a tequila company, and I was the CEO of a pretty sizable restaurant chain at about 80 locations throughout the United States, 12 different brands from fine dining to casual dining. It was a pretty dynamic business. And like I mentioned, met him at a luncheon where we were going through, and he was talking about his great tequila product, where I ended up meeting up later. He did a couple, bar stops for us with some of the new restaurant openings I was doing, and we hit it off. And he reached out and said, "Hey, I really want you to come to work for me here. We got this great brand, and I want to take it to the next level." And from there, had several conversations. I was in my last position for almost 6 years and had double the size of the company and really achieved what we were set out to achieve at that point. So it was a great point in time where if I was going to make a transition, it worked on the time side, but it also was super interesting to have this international celebrity actually recruiting you for a position. And I did my homework and I learned everything about Wahlburgers and what they stood for, and the fact that, what has been accomplished, but really the opportunity that it had, and what could it be. And
Mhm.
after several conversations with Mark, several conversations with Paul Wahlberg, our chef, I jumped on in, and it's been a great experience, and I can't wait to share everything about it. But to your point, it's a celebrity owned brand, but we don't live off the celebrity names. We live off our quality.
And that's an interesting first point, I think, to talk about because many of our listeners don't have that connection. They're running companies now. Some are fast casual, some maybe are burger related. Some have already expanded, some are wishing to expand, and more than likely none of them have a recognizable, celebrity brand. I would imagine that the celebrity brand is sort of a dual-edged sword, that it might have a positive with door openings and popularity, but is there another side also with expectations that comes along with that? And or am I wrong there? This is something I'm just assuming.
Well, I think if you just remove our company for 2 seconds and just talk about celebrity owned brands, it is definitely a double edged sword, because there's some that are either invested or owned by celebrities where they are super involved and they love it and they hire people to do a great job and they're great products. And then there's several other brands out there that may be a celebrity owned brand that it's just really a name on it. And it actually might get you in the door one time, but if it's a brand that doesn't stand for quality and there's not a reason to return, then it's not going to be something that's sustainable, in my opinion. And the unique thing here was, while Mark's obviously international celebrity, Donnie's done his, super successful. This has been a brand that was built on quality, invested by very famous people, and
Mhm.
and separately on that, where they can get it's a little bit of an advantage to get people into the door the first time.
Sure.
But if you don't live on the quality, they're coming back second time.
I love the way you presented that. Now, no, I think that's exactly right. I mean, there's a big difference between, say, a brand that's owned by a celebrity and, as you described it, celebrity family that wants to get into the business and actually run a good quality restaurant business. There is a difference, yeah. So, thank heavens that they're doing that. The reviews, that you hear are that it is a quality first. The story, that I think that marketing promotes is this is a family of guys they're brothers eating around the table, liking food. Okay, who's not going to like that?
Exactly.
That are now in the restaurant business together. Thank God one of them was a chef. I mean, the other two were a little busy singing and dancing and acting.
Right.
One guy's has to know something about food.
Exactly. Yeah, but I couldn't agree more. So.
Okay, so you've been there for a couple of years. Why don't you go ahead and fill in the blanks? I think some people might know more than others, but Wahlburgers, if you could paint us a picture about the concept, menu offerings, style of service, size, because size of the stores probably varies a little bit.
Sure. And I can just walk through. I joined a couple of years ago, and while Wahlburgers has always stood for quality as a brand, it has grown, but as a brand, there were some opportunities. It was a little bit stagnant in certain areas, and really, what we first order of business was assess everything we served our guests assess every location we had, either franchise or corporate, assess the team. I brought in a chief operating officer that I actually worked with for many years. He was actually direct my direct supervisor for many years when I first became a multi-unit operator. Really just wanted to build a team of professionals that understood the same thing: quality first, execute at a high level, make a sustainable business. And the sustainable business is it's self-defined, but it's something that has a growth trajectory based on what it stands for. And we took a look at every burger, every patty. We took a look at every bun. We had a blind tasting a few months in where there was 30 different vendors came to the table with, or suppliers came to the table with their burger patties. And we just wanted to make sure what we were serving our guests was the best. And so we really did a full 360 analysis on the brand, on the locations, on the franchise operators. And, the end result was we went from probably having more locations and less success. Now we have less locations and more success. And we got rid of a couple franchise operators that really weren't in the business for the right reasons, or just didn't have the right knowledge of restaurant business to operate. And those are tough decisions, but they were the right decisions that we made for our company. And we put ourselves in a position where we defined our business models. We have 4 different business models. We have a full serve bar and grill, what I affectionately call it, which is what you would expect. You walk into, you have a full bar, full service, about a 4,000 or 5,000 square foot location with patio. We have our limited service where, you'd walk up to the counter and while the burger is not a fast food, our food is not fast food, it's quality, but it can compete with fast food. So we have these limited service models where in a smaller footprint we can serve. We have airports, arenas. We're opening our 4th airport this week in Sarasota, Florida. We just opened the Detroit Metro Airport a couple months back. So it's what we call that is captive audiences, where you're either in high traffic casino, airport, and whatnot. That's super successful. And then we have our 4th, which is what we call non-traditional. Non-traditional is defined as such that, and I'll give you an example. We have a partnership now with Home Depot. We've opened 4 locations in Florida, and it's a food trailer, but it's also looks like it's part of the business now. It's a partnership with Home Depot where quite a bit of expense has gone in to make sure that while guests are shopping, they actually have an opportunity to have some food and beverage offerings, and they're just very well done. So that's our non-traditional model, and all 4 work. So when you're growing our business, we have great opportunities for the bar and grill. We have great opportunities for a smaller footprint. We have great opportunities in these casinos and airports. And then we have this opportunity in this partnership with great retailers that we really appreciate being aligned with. And there's just a tremendous opportunity to grow from there.
So does that mean that, say, in your 4,000 to 5,000 square foot Wahlburgers, which is full service, so we're going to imagine we've got a hostess, we have servers, is that a more expanded menu than the Wahlburgers that I might find when I go to the fast casual version and order at the counter?
It is. It was so, and again, that's one of the other. I came in a couple of years ago, and there were 17 different menus in the Wahlburgers across the United States and elsewhere. Now we have 3.
Okay.
So we have our full service menu, we have our favorites or limited service menu, and then we have our non-traditional menu. That's it. And it's consistent. It's the same burger patty everywhere. It's the same bun everywhere. It's the same level. You can only buy it from one place. We formulate it. It's very consistent, but exactly, it's a smaller version of the menu. So obviously you can execute it at a high level.
And you're open to obviously some very interesting arrangements because some of your stores, you mentioned the word franchise before. So some of these I would assume are corporate company run. Some of them are franchises where you have franchisees to support. In these captives, where you're in airports, I imagine that's more of a license arrangement with the airport food service company. Is that right?
Correct.
Okay.
Exactly. And we are largely a franchise model. We are a licensing model. We have 7 corporate locations that we own and operate ourselves. The biggest difference, though, is I would say a couple years ago, anyone could probably get a franchise now. There's a pretty strict vetting process to be able to, be part of our company.
Boy, that's a good point you just made. I hope you listeners that are very interested in growth through franchising made a note of what you just heard. Vetting process, qualifying process. Too many times people do get in a hurry. We've seen all kinds of war stories. Obviously, you walked into a little bit of a one where you're kind of happy to have a franchise operator, but if they're not the right one, then they're not building your brand value and
Damaging your brand value.
there you go. And ouch. But unlike a company store where you can walk right in and change managers and change menu, and you have to kind of work through what is another company, and it's a little bit more difficult. So people growing through franchising, make sure you make a mental note of that. Better to have a small team doing well, like you are now blessed with, Randy,
Absolutely.
then grow quickly because people can fog a mirror, cut a check, and you open it up at the restaurant, and then later on you're regretting the fact that you've got a lot of C team operators out there.
There's a line I use: realistic versus optimistic. It's okay to be cautiously optimistic, but if you don't, when a vetting process comes in, it's not the easiest thing in the world for us to say yes anymore. But you have to have a multi-unit operator. You have to have a level of experience in a restaurant that helps us protect the brand. And you have to be able to find a great location that we sign off on. So it's a pretty strict vetting process, but it's been successful. And the reason why we have this opportunity with these great retailers that I mentioned is because they've noticed it. And, we did shrink dramatically from another retail operator because they were doing a lousy job taking care of our brand and they were failing audits left and right. And the right decision was to walk away from them and regroup. And we've been more successful because of it. And we've attracted the right people that want to help us grow this business now because of what we stand for.
Wow. Yes, I think you're referring to the Hy-Vee markets that we read about, and different restaurant journals read about those. Those were, I think, the units that you're talking about that just weren't successful, and you decided to cut back. Are all of those closed, or did some of them get working? How did that work out?
They weren't operating at, let's just say, the level that we needed them to operate to grow the brand. And the decision was made that, hey, we're going to move on. So what we did do is there was one full service restaurant in Mall of America that was owned by Hy-Vee at that point, is we took it over. We actually acquired it. We run it as a corporate location right now, doing very well. The ones that were inside the stores, we just shook hands and said, it's time to move on. Let's go, both go our separate ways. And then we align, we went through that whole process. We start seeing more success, and the quality that we stood for, the consistency we stood for, was getting a little bit muddy because they had this out here that wasn't, we have a 4-star rated, on social media location here, and then there's a 2-star because of this. So we had to just, cut the cord on the folks that were bringing us down, and from there, the real quality showed through. And now we have these great opportunities to grow, and we have a good trajectory for the next 3 to 5 years. We're pretty excited about it.
That's wonderful.
It would have never happened had we not made some tough decisions.
I was just going to ask that. I thought sometimes I've heard that from many restaurant company leaders, that the best step forward was the one they took back. Sometimes the best step is take a step back. Sounds like you did that in a big way. You got to cut, you got to reassess, then become stronger, and then bingo. Wow, wonderful. So how many units are out there? What states are you in now?
We're in several states. And again, this launch in Florida, we have 4 non-traditional launch there. So we just took over Florida. We have a goal to have 100 in Florida.
Wow.
The next 3 years. We're still on the Eastern Seaboard. We have several in Vegas. We have Puerto Rico. We're getting ready to open right now with a franchise operator that, again, we vetted and feel very good about. He's going to have 5 locations in Puerto Rico. We have about, by the end of this year, we should have 60 locations opening and operating between the different models.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
60 locations up by end of the year. And it sounds like it's because you've got a very successful franchise network growing, or are a lot of these going to be corporate?
It's both. Yeah, it's both. So these partnerships, we're keeping our hands on them. We have, I mentioned the partnership that we're working on with Home Depot. We actually have another one with Bass Pro. Bass Pro has a hotel in Memphis, Tennessee called the Pyramid. It was a basketball arena that they remodeled, and it's a beautiful hotel, Bass Pro first level, 200-room hotel. And there's a Wahlburgers on the ground floor. There's a full service banquets and catering department, and there's what we call the Lookout, which is a fine dining restaurant on the very top of the pyramid. And up that top of that pyramid is taller than the Statue of Liberty. It's gorgeous. If you've never been there, you have to look at it. We acquired that was run by a franchise operator that wasn't fitting the bill for the quality side and was really not meeting expectations. So we acquired it as a corporate. We're running that. So anything that has to do with these other significant retail partners that we're very proud to do business with is we oversee. And then again, we have other licensing agreements with proven, tried and true companies that we know will help, support our growth the right way.
So in addition to the menu, burgers, chicken sandwiches, salads, you've got great sides. I personally like the idea that there's sweet potato tots.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm a tater tot guy. I like sweet potatoes. You can't find those together. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
But now, in addition to that, though, you've got a pretty good selection of beer, limited selection of wine. Is that only in the full serve, or is that available in that counter serve model as well?
Beer and wine is available in several of the counter serve models, especially the ones that are in casinos.
Okay.
Obviously, the full bar speaks for itself, but anywhere where there's an opportunity to have beer and wine on the menu, we love it. And the location in the Sarasota, the Brayton Airport that we're opening this week it's a limited service, but it does have beer and wine.
Okay. See, that's great, and I'm hoping that the listeners are making some notes of this. That sometimes you add brand value by having one concept, but smart concepts have variations, and
as long as you can protect it. I agree with you. If you can protect the brand and it still represents what you represent, there's no reason having different models. It's easier for you to run one model and it's more of a cookie cutter. So sometimes there's a saying, sometimes it's easier. If it's easier on you, it might be harder on your guests. Sometimes you want to make it a little harder on yourself and do the extra homework to create opportunities that you can still serve your high quality, but then you can find the reach to get to the guests. And that's really what some of the things we've done with Home Depot and other of our retail partners.
Excellent. That's really good. How does the retail product line fit in with this? There's a sauce. Are there other things too?
The burger patties are significant, footprint out there. We have the wall sauce, the burgers. I think there's a total of 8 different items in the retail, and that's again another success story. And when I came on board, we were in quite a few markets. Once we reconfigured where we're going to go, who we're going to go with, that got changed a little bit. But now what's happening is now we're in Florida. Now all the grocery stores in Florida are carrying our burger patties, and that's really the business strategy and the plan is the retail is a great product. It needs to follow where we're at, and folks go in and have a great experience and order a burger, and then when they're at the grocery store, say, "Oh my God, they have the burgers here," and they buy them. So it's a nice piece of the business, and it's great to have. And there needs to be a strategy around it, just like there is for our restaurant growth, and we have that now.
Good. Okay, so let's talk about how you guys successfully work through some of the industry challenges that are out there. This is pretty much a tough year when we're talking about cost of goods. Companies that are growing, certainly like you, seem to be very concerned with occupancy costs, startup costs. That's all we hear about is that the construction and the materials that were supposed to settle down after COVID didn't. And so opening costs are staggering high. And after we get open, we're finding that the cost of operation, cost of goods, cost of labor, et cetera, are much higher than before. So what does a company like you plan on able to fight that, work around those issues?
You got to do a lot of homework. It's a math equation. There's a line that you have to draw in this plan on how much the max you're going to pay on occupancy costs. You have to understand and factor in and be 3 to 6 months ahead on all your supply chain needs. There's just a tremendous amount of homework that goes into planning and in order to keep ahead of it. And that's really what it is. It boils down to you have to do your homework and you have to make sure you're going in the right place, the right time with the right people. And that really has been spending a little more time on that than probably in the past has been our key to success.
Is it hard in today's market to build the team, build the bench strength, that you need to grow management and other leadership positions?
I mean, I think that there's argument that it's tough. I think also there's a culture you have to create in your business, and that will attract the right people. And we're doing good. We're happy. I'm very happy with the team we have. We've been able to attract great people. I think that I make it sound like it's a little easier than probably is. My team would say, "Oh, that was tough, Randy," and we did the work, which is the truth. But I think more importantly, when you have good people, how do you keep them?
Right.
And I think you have to create that culture in your company where people actually want to come in every day and want to converse and want to be part of something. And I feel very good about that. And one of the lines I say is we got to take our business super serious, but we don't have to take ourselves that serious, right? We have to be the right type of leader that actually people like to be around. And if you create the right culture, people don't leave. Or if they do, they leave a lot less. And then it's a lot easier to continue to build your team because you're not replacing good people all the time.
That's a very, very good point. I really like that. I hope everybody's hearing that it isn't today's market. I think people are looking for more than just a job where they can work and get a check. They're looking for a place where they fit, a place where they enjoy being. Obviously, they feel like they are connecting. And that's what I hear you say when you're talking about creating a culture. And if the people are important and if they're right and they want to grow, sounds like you've got a pretty good plan in place for that.
We're very excited about our plan. We're more excited the fact that it's working.
I like it. Because see, where some people will tell us they get stuck is they might have a very attractive getting started. When it comes to people, it's attractive. The offer is attractive. People are excited at first. They get in, and then they notice that their retention is low.
Mhm.
And it's like, why are they leaving? And then too many people say, well, they didn't like a concept, or, well, I can't pay as much as somebody down the street. And you might say something different, I bet. I bet you might say that if they really felt like they're in the right place, if they fit, if they were engaged with, if they sort of bought into what the vision was, they're not going to run down the street just because I guess somebody else is coming to town.
I agree that, obviously, there's probably some that will, but I think you have to be ahead of that too, and you have to always be looking, making sure are you have the people in the right place? Are they in the right fit? And are they being talked to? Are you constantly communicating with your team? Are they happy? Are you doing your part? And I always ask ourselves that when you hire people, you hire them for a reason, right? Because obviously you like them, right? Okay, and then when they leave, oh yeah, they left. They were okay. Okay, well, they were you liked them a lot more when you hired them, right? And so yeah, you ask yourself those tough questions, and if you continually ask yourself the tough questions, you get people thinking about that answer, and then they might handle themselves a little differently or their situations differently. But it's really you always got to look within first and foremost and make sure, are we the best employer of choice out there? Are we a good place to work? Are we a place that actually not only has our values but stands for them and practices them?
Good point. Good point. Can we switch gears just a little bit now to talk about marketing, getting the first guests, ongoing marketing to create that guest to become more of a loyal guest?
Mhm.
What kind of programs do you find are working or that you do? Because you've got a couple of different directions now. You've got the franchising, you've got the company stores. Is marketing different?
I mean, when I first came on board, marketing was different, meaning we were really pushing to try to figure out how to get more traffic in the restaurants, and we're continuing to do that. But it's two-pronged. It's marketing and it's image, right? And there's image and marketing that where you want to actually showcase how great your brand is. And then there's marketing that says, hey, come on in and we'll either give you a deal or we'll give you a value, right?
There you go.
So I think you have to look at both, and you have to make sure that you have the right ingredients and the right amount of both marketing. But it's just staying on top of the trends. It's making sure that you're reaching out and you're speaking to the guests that could potentially come to your business. I mean, social media is a very, very strong marketing tool. Paid digital ads, search engine optimization, all these things go into when people type in their personal computers, which is their phone these days, best burger around, where do you want, where does Wahlburgers land? And you got to look at that, and you got to constantly be checking and asking yourself that, because that's a big piece of it. And then obviously having, a little bit of advantage of having our celebrity presence, being able to help amplify some of our messages is very successful for us.
Yeah, I could see that. And do you have to have a separate franchise, marketing advisory group or something that helps you with programs that franchises will do when they open, or local versus company supported marketing? Because sometimes that works, and I'm interested to hear how you approach that.
Well, we have a marketing team first and foremost here. We have a robust marketing team at our company. And then we have different programs. We have our image slash corporate slash, overarching brand marketing. Then you have specific marketing by region. And then we have a local store marketing plan and
Oh, okay.
toolbox, so to speak, that everyone's able to tap into. And it's got quite a few different things in it and quite a few different resources there to help you grow. And I would say franchise marketing, the difference is the franchisee typically has someone on their side and you have someone on your side, and it's a collaboration to make sure they're working together and they're actually sending the same message. And they're actually tapping and utilizing our marketing engine to help them be more successful. But it's our job to build the brand marketing strategy.
Got it. Well, it seems like it works well.
Yeah, we're excited.
And that's exactly what I was expecting. It's a combination of the brand, the image, but there's also marketing programs. And then there's the local, the LSMs, that are probably going to be different depending upon the market or the region that you're in.
It's a toolbox, and there's different tools in that toolbox. And there's different things that certain markets, Vegas could use versus Memphis, Tennessee may use a few different tools. So
Now, are you doing that maybe with even some, maybe not core menu products, but some of the surround menu items? Because I mean, I notice adult shakes, for example, the popularity of dirty sodas and things. In some markets, you do more of that. Some markets, you don't do any.
well, every quarter we're refreshing, and I stay away from fads. I'm not a fan of restaurant fads. I am a fan of restaurant trends and new and exciting.
Right.
That's a strong marketing tool for not only corporate but franchise, when you're able to launch new marketing opportunities with new items. And we continually do that. We do that every quarter.
Excellent. Quarterly reviews, marketing items.
Yeah.
Because, I kind of caught under your breath when we first started talking marketing that you're not a fan, that marketing really means it's a deal. A discount and marketing to me were always different words, but sometimes I get confused.
People get confused, and there's also value versus discount. Value's an equation, right? You walk in,
Yes.
and maybe you pay $100 for an item or $20 for an item. If you had a great product, a great experience, and it was high level execution, high level hospitality, that is a great value no matter what price you paid. If you have to discount a product, and there's times when you have to do that probably to get people to come in, but it might mean because you maybe didn't meet that value proposition before, now you have to
Right.
get back and show how much better you are. And you have to understand where you stand, and it's not always the same, it's different restaurant to restaurant, but yes.
And that's probably one of the best things that maybe our industry learned after COVID.
Mhm.
Too many operators would have defined that differently years ago.
Yeah.
They thought value meant cheap. Value meal, put things together and discount it. Sit-down restaurants had the whatever we called it. Remember the
Mhm.
executive lunch where you got the entree and the salad, but a smaller dessert. But if you put it together, you saved a little bit of money. Fast food had to order by the number because if you group it together. So anyway, most restaurants were saying, I need to do my version of that or I'm not producing any value. Whereas I think now the industry understands it just as you present it. Value means worth. Was this worth my time? The experience, the food, the service, everything. Cheap means cheap. I mean, we can be cheap if we want to, but that's not value anymore.
That's a discount. Yep, I totally agree.
Yeah, I think that's excellent. Well, let's switch gears to use of technology now. You might be in a position where, unlike, say, some smaller guys with 2 or 3 units in one market, you might have programs, software, or available tools to help manage whether it's labor, whether it's operating systems, whether it's, food control, inventory. How much is technology really impacting your restaurant's performance now?
Well, we use technology. We leverage technology to be able to get information quicker. I think it's the best way to put it.
Okay.
Whether it's a guest speaking to you about either an experience that they had or an item that they love or hate. That's technology, right? But you can get the information to yourself quicker. You can react quicker. It's the same thing with labor. It's the same thing with food costs. All these things it's information. Technology will never replace people. And I get in this fun argument with my friends that are IT folks all the time where technology is important. You can actually go broke by spending too much money on technology because what you want to use technology for is to leverage to get information you need to help make decisions. And I think that anyone, small or large, can utilize a subset of technology to make sure you're getting the information you need in order to make sure you're making the right decisions for your business. So,
Well said. That's great. So technology, very, very important. If it's helping you gather information, if it's helping you assist in making decisions better and quicker and run your business. Technology obviously isn't something that you're interested in looking at as a labor replacement. So it doesn't look like we're going to see kiosks and few people.
no, I don't see it that way, not at least for our brand.
Mm-hmm.
Technology is no different than, you sign up with a subscription, right? Well, folks all the time sign up for gym memberships, right? That doesn't do anything. You actually have to show up to the gym, right? So you sign up for a technology subscription. You actually have to know what you're doing and you actually have to utilize the product or you're just wasting money. So
Too many people get started with that first part. Yeah, we're all excited because we've got this program for this, and it started with Restaurant 365, and that's going to make me really smart. And then I'm going to add this and add that. And good news is some of it's very usable, and I have worked with clients where they used it, and we've made good decisions.
it's leveraging information. It's absolutely needed and it can make you very successful, but it's not going to replace you.
Perfect. Okay, so what would you be telling? What are the maybe top 3 or 4 things you'd be telling somebody if they've got a counter service restaurant? And the good news is they're in the business and they're doing well. Now they're ready to take the next step. Instead of having 2 or 3 stores, they want to make it more of a brand. What are some of the things that you would want to make sure that they listed as sort of the Randy commandments?
Well, smart growth. And I think the first and foremost is,
Mm-hmm.
I said it a few times already today. Where are you going to grow and who are you going to grow with? And if you want to do it as a small corporation, you want to grow your footprint, great. Okay. What does that mean? Well, that means that you got to pick the right real estate. You got to pick the right, you got to do your homework. You got to make sure and you got to make sure you've got enough of a bench and a team to grow the right way. So, don't put the cart before the horse. Do your homework. Make sure you're prepared and you're ready. And then that's exciting time. And you got a brand that's successful enough that's poised for growth. Then you just got to do the extra steps.
Makes sense. Speaking of extra steps, can you kind of give us a little summary of the exciting 3 to 5 years that you see? Where are we going to see Wahlburgers as you drive it in the short term?
Well, because we've clean, I wouldn't call it clean house, but we've refocused where we're going to grow. I mentioned we have significant partnerships set in place with significant retailers that are going to help us grow on the corporate side. We have a very good group of franchisees that want to grow and we'll continue to work with them on growth. I don't like to put a number on how many a year, but I mean, a 10 to 20% growth annually is probably what we're looking at. And again, it's going to be a conservative approach, but it's the approach that's working and we feel very good about it.
Well, the strategic partnerships sound very exciting.
They are.
Not everybody I know gets into that area or can, but you've got some really interesting doors opened, and I'm very excited about that, as well as continued franchise growth now that you're more confident in the operations from that network. That's fantastic.
Awesome.
When people look at the menu, it's very obvious that there's a burger that is listed as Donnie's favorite. There's a burger that's Mark's. There's a burger that's Paul's. When are we going to see Randy's favorite? Which one is?
No, never. These guys are they outclass me in every way, and I learn from them every day on, not only how to be a great partner, but how to, be the support that I need to be. And, I don't think anyone would be interested in Randy's favorite. I'm certainly not. I'm interested in what Mark and Donnie and Paul are doing, and I'm interested in the quality of the brand. So I like I said, I don't think that's going to happen, but I'm very excited and very honored to be part of the journey. So.
It's a great journey. It sounds like you're doing wonderful. Continued success. Best wishes.
Thank you.
This has been a fantastic conversation. I'm afraid we're going to have to wrap up now, but I really thank you for your time. Everybody, I hope you made some notes here. Wahlburgers, this is serious. This isn't just some celebrity people that you love when you see them on TV that put their name on something. This is a really good product. And this brand is a serious brand that's going to be a very significant growth contender. So we're looking forward to it. Check them out at the Wahlburgers website. If you're in one of those markets, you get to go celebrate it. If you're like me and you're out in a rural area in Texas, I don't have one to go to.
Not yet.
Randy, I think you better work on that for me, please.
I'm not gonna give up any secrets right now, but there's already a plan in place for Texas that we're super excited.
I love this guy. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks again for being here today. And for everyone else, go make it a great shift. Thank you so much for joining, and let's connect real soon on another corner booth. Thanks again to our sponsor, ServeSafe. Learn more about the updated manager training and exam at servesafe.com.
Thank you for joining us on the Corner Booth. We'll be back next Tuesday with more inspiration, insights, and industry best practices to help you engage your team, delight your guests, and grow your business.